Hi, my name is Blair and I'm an arborist. I work on trees for a living, and 11 years ago in 2008 I started this YouTube channel, which has been moderately successful. I've got about 27, maybe close to 28,000 subscribers now. I'm trying really hard to grow this channel, so if you like my stuff, please subscribe and always comment. As you're probably aware, I haven't enabled any of the adverts on there because I find them personally very annoying. And I think they detract from the message that I'm trying to get out there. And speaking of message, there is a lesson in just about every one of my videos. Sometimes it's a hidden lesson, but there's deep down in there, there's an aha moment. Oh, I get it. Or, oh, I didn't know that. And I hope you appreciate that. Sometimes they're a little bit subtle. Sometimes they're glaring and right in your face. But I hope you enjoy my channel. Please share, and let's on with the next video. Oh, by the way, I'm still shooting for 1,000. I want to get 1,000 videos on trees and tree care before I die. I'm going to use this redwood tree as an example of what can happen, or what does happen, when a tree is topped, or sadly in this case the top blew out in a big windstorm. First off, let me explain the location of this tree. This tree was planted up here on this ridge top, and you can imagine what the winds can be like up here. Now let me tell you, they're pretty ferocious. So this tree grew tall and slender, and a few years ago, a friend of mine owns this tree, by the way, the top blew out, and it was significant. It was probably about 40 feet of top that came out of it. So that was quite a few years ago. So now let's take a look at what has happened since the top was lost. And to contrast that, let me show you what a normal redwood tree looks like. It's got a tall single leader, and there's a lot of trees that fall into this category, but as this tree gets taller and taller, the side branches that come out don't go excessively far, because the height of the tree keeps the consistency of the shape fairly balanced. But when a top comes out of a tree, then all the remaining energy goes to causing the remaining limbs to get excessively long, which can lead to long-term failures. This tree is in good shape. If anybody said, what do you do to a tree like this? I would say nothing. And a lot of people would say, well, what about this one right here? This one looks a little bit out of place. Well, when you think about symmetry on a tree versus what happens when you make a lot of cuts, symmetry is not really important. Because if I was to snip this off, in 3 or 4 years' time, there'd be a big bush of explosion right there. And that would cause this branch to become heavier than it should be. So there are exceptions, and there are situations where you kind of have to create an unnatural shape because of what happened. And I'll show you why on the large tree. So it's kind of hard to see here, but you can see all these branches have gotten considerably longer than they should be. And what will happen is they'll just grow and grow and grow, and then a big windstorm will cause them to break off. Down here, you can see where somebody has cut off a branch, and it's just now beginning to send out that explosion of new growth on the end, as well as right here. So if you do that, you're setting yourself up for required long-term maintenance of these heavy ends. Because ultimately, when all these new growth pieces come out, all the explosion of new growth, that'll make this heavier than if it was just a long, lanky one. But because this tree was topped, these are longer than they should be. So we're kind of at a catch-22 situation here. What do we do with a big tree like this? Well, unfortunately, I think I have to go around and do this kind of shaping all the way around, but even a little bit more up on the top to try to bring this back into more of a conical shape. And that's because if you don't do it, the next step is going to be complete branch failures. When we have a big windstorm, you're going to see this thing just whipping in the wind, and these really long branches are going to start breaking. So I was able to get the bucket truck in here to do some of this shaping. Unfortunately, the smaller bucket couldn't reach the stuff in the back, and I'm going to have to go back up there to get some of the ones on the far side. But for today, I want to get some of these branches over his tile roof for a couple of reasons. He's putting in a small artist's cottage at the base of the tree. What a view. Boy, this is such a beautiful area. This is up in the Los Gatos, Santa Cruz Mountains, and I feel so fortunate to live up here. Here's an example of what happens when you snip a branch, just a branch on a redwood tree. They'll often create these witch's brooms of new growth that explode. And because unfortunately I'm doing that, I'm doing exactly what I'm saying is wrong, only because this tree no longer has a top and it's growing absolutely unnatural. It's growing so wide that it's starting to fail everywhere. You can see there's just an explosion of growth. That's where it was a double top tree originally. And I know the previous owner of this house, and he said that the double top split out in 2001 and it actually hit his house. The second top continued to grow and it broke just a few years ago, and there's some of the trimming that I've got. I've still got to cut these branches back. So this is what I'm finding throughout the tree. Lots and lots of broken stubs. These things have just gotten so unnaturally long that it doesn't take a whole lot for them to break. I must have cleaned up at least a dozen of those broken pieces throughout the tree. I did spend some time cleaning it out just so that I can get to it. It was quite the job. There's the log from that top that broke out just a few years ago. I walked it off and it's 30 feet long, and I can imagine there was probably another 15 feet on the end there. So here we are at the end of the day. Got the tree cleaned out nice, not excessively, but there was so much dead wood and congestion in there. It feels like I stripped it, but I didn't. Thanks for watching.